Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be building a large beehive bench to hold all of our hives. Now this one will hold comfortably 5, but if you really want to squish them together, you can fit 6 beehives on this. Now I've also built single beehive stands and made a video of that. If you guys are interested, you can go check that out. The link right up in the top corner of this video, or at the end, I'll leave the link there as well. But if you have more hives than just 1 or 2, you will probably want a larger stand like this one. So I'm going to start with making a few 4x4 legs, and I'm making a few cuts with my circular saw to make it easier to chisel out the material that I need to make a notch for that 2x4 frame to set on. This will help hold the weight of the beehives. Instead of putting all that force on the screws themselves, the 2x4s will be able to rest directly on top of those 4x4 legs. And because of this, it will be able to support a lot more weight. Now these beehives, when they're full of honey, they can easily weigh up to 300 pounds or more. So with 5 or 6 of those hives on this stand, I really need to make this as rugged as I can. So now I'm going to take deck screws, screw the legs in, screw the frame together, and use what feels like a ton of deck screws just to assemble this. All right, now that I've got everything fastened together, this could basically be finished right now if you want it to be. I'm gonna add a few improvements though to make beekeeping a little bit easier. All right, first I'm gonna be adding sort of a bumper on the end of the bench just to keep anything from sliding off. It shouldn't, but this also will give me a little bit of a shelf to set things on while I'm working on the hives. Now, I do have extra space in between these hives, so I'm going to make little tables that I can easily remove once I have more hives here. But these tables, you can slide them around, move them around wherever you want them to go. But this is perfect to set your tools on and frames on while you're inspecting and working with the bees. To make this, I'm just simply stapling 2 pressure-treated deck boards together with a smaller piece of pressure-treated lumber holding them together on the bottom, and this will also hold it better onto the 2x4 frame. Because I'm not nailing this down, I want this to be movable and easily adjusted as needed. For now, I've made one for each of the hives that we have. That will make it easier to work on them, and we still have plenty of room. Now I've got the bee stand finished, and now all I need to do is level out the space where it needs to go. For these beehives, it's really important to have a nice level base that's stable. They get really heavy, so you don't want this toppling over. If you do, it's going to be devastating to your hive. And what I'm going to be doing with this is keeping it level, but I'll have it ever so slightly leaning forward, because if water gets in the bottom of your hive, it can become stagnant and rest in there, make the hive too humid. So we definitely don't want that to happen, so I'll just have it leaning slightly forward so that the water can just naturally go out the front of the hive, keep everything dry, and the bees safe. I'm adding a brick underneath each of the legs just to give a better base to rest on instead of just right on the soil. This should settle, and hopefully it won't end up leaning one way or the other, but you'll want to keep an eye on it, and if it does start to lean, you can easily add more blocks underneath and level it, and that's no problem. There's a little bit of a bank on the back side of the hives where I had to level this out, so I'm adding in a few rocks to make a bit of a retaining wall to keep that from eroding away and messing up the foundation of the bee stand. We're pretty much finished with the bee stand now. All we're doing is setting up the beehives, getting them ready for the new queen and colonies that we're going to be installing in each of these. We've been beekeeping now for several years, and it's gone really well up until this last fall. One queen ended up dying. It was too late in the season to create another one. They ended up just combining on their own, but that hive got too crowded over the winter. And in the springtime, the hive was too full of honey and pollen. The queen had no room to lay, and so they just packed up and left the hive, unfortunately. But that's basically how beekeeping goes. Sometimes you can catch the warning signs and fix it. This is definitely a learning process for us, so we're going to watch out for that next time. But for now, we're going to install those 3 new queens, get them into their home, and get all the bees settled. And this was this spring, so quite a few months ago. We're already in October. They're doing great so far. Every hive has made it. They have stocked up a good amount of honey and food for this winter. The first year that you have beehives, they don't normally produce that much. They're really just building up the comb, building up a little bit of stores for them. But to give them a little bit of a boost, we're adding in quite a few frames from the old hives that have comb already on them and some with honey and pollen, so they're already starting out with some food and some space for the queen to start laying, and try to give them as big of a boost as possible.
See, there's so many. Yeah, she's in there, and she's marked. I'm gonna put it in between the frames.
This is I could pull out the cork. There's a little bit of sugar in there that they'll eat through to let her free. We're going to wrap this process up real soon, and all of these bees know the scent of their queen, and they will actually find her in the correct hive. And so they're all flying around right now trying to figure out what's happening, but in no time they'll be calmed down and get acclimated to this hive, and in a couple days they'll release the queen from that cage that she is in, and she will start laying and creating that hive. Alright guys, that just about finishes up the video for today. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Thanks so much for watching guys. I'll see you in the next one.